Hey YouTube, JGreen302. I think I'll call this 3-gun wrap-up, because there's more things to cover that I learned. So if you are one of the 6 people that actually pay attention to the crap that I sit here and talk about, why is my gun in the freezer, the issues that I had with the guns, the three-gun shoot. When I made those videos, I was still livid. I was just very upset with myself. I was upset with the problems that I had. I was embarrassed to walk through those problems, but it's how you learn. Time and repairs. And now I look back on it and go, that was kick-ass. I am so ready to go through this again and watch all my shit work. Time and attitude. So, life's been busy. Haven't had a lot of time. But each night I get those moments where I can sit there and think, and my mind keeps going back to this. I keep pressing rewind and pressing play again and going through it all. And I've actually had email conversations all through the week with some of the shooters that actually were wearing the helmet cams for when they were shooting, and we kind of did a review of, some of the competitors that were in other teams that I never got to actually see shoot. And so I wanted to kind of cover the rest of the story. So I sat down and I kind of made some notes. Observations. This weekend that I'm talking about, on the Saturday, we did an IDPA shoot, which is International Defensive Pistol Association. And there's a group that goes to that. And this is the thing that we do every other weekend. And there's stages, and, you can go on YouTube and just look up IDPA competition matches or something like that. And you'll see the stages and how people go through it and shoot and everything like that. And then the Sunday was a club 3-gun event, the pistol, rifle, shotgun. On Sunday, it was a different group. There were some of the folks that shoot with us on IDPA, but the majority was a completely different group. The talent level went way up. Most of these people were competing on a regional circuit. I mean, these were the no-joke boys. I mean, when these guys showed up, you just knew a different class of people had arrived. The gear, the setup, oh God, it's like, holy shit, where did these guys come from? I only got to shoot with 3 or 4. One of the guys that I shot with works for Benelli, as in the people that make Benelli shotguns. One of the other guys was somebody that competed regionally. And the third guy that I was shooting with is one of the best shooters in our Thursday night in our IDPA. It's rare that I sit there amongst the group and know I am the crap of the cream. Wasn't good. Yes, it was. It's nice to watch the people who really know how to do things and learn from them. So what did I learn? Well, in the course of this past week, one of the things that we found out is that a lot of people had magazine feed failures. So you got these guys coming out that are of a high caliber. They've got some of the top dollar gear. I mean, walking around seeing what everybody brought to the shoot made going to the gun show look like a joke, because these boys had decked everything out and customized. It was sick. Just sick. Everybody was rolling around with between $5,000 and $15,000 worth of gear to do this shoot, times 30 or 40 people. So when I say it upscaled, I mean it upscaled. These boys knew what they were doing. And yet, it was very common for everybody to have magazine feed failures. Don't know if it was from them dropping it and getting sand in it, lack of maintenance, the cold. It's hard to tell because there was a variety of guns, a variety of different ways of doing things, but the magazine failures, and we commented on this, amongst our group, is, you talk about these high capacity bands, but what was interesting is that a lot of this high capacity stuff was halting the rifle. I didn't have that problem. We were only allowed to load the first mag till 10 rounds and the second mag up to 20. You weren't allowed to go beyond 20. And they were still having feed failures. I didn't work on their guns. I don't know. Interesting point. Let's see, what else? Here's a good one. I am proud to say that I did not have this problem. But one of the guys I shoot with, the discussion went this way. He said, at my age, either I go for being competitive, shooting these gun competitions now. He says, if I wait another 5 or 7 years, he said, my eyesight, my reaction times, my everything is going to start to go downhill. And with age, there's no way to get it back. He said, he was like, this is it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And he's very committed. I mean, he matches a specific reload to a specific spring to a specific gun so that everything is in a perfect cadence with him. He tunes to that level. And so he's invested the money, he's invested the time. He's the one that set up the 3-gun shoot, okay? He set this whole 3-gun up and the IDPA. So here you got somebody that's very competitive. Somebody who's he makes me look like, look, I got a gun, and he's the gun nut. So what happened? His biggest problem was he couldn't remember to take the safety off the rifle. He kept forgetting. Every time he'd bring the gun up and he'd sit there and oh shit. So he blew all of his times because he forgot. The muscle memory wasn't there to turn the safety off. I was very surprised. And I asked him why. And he said, the only time that I bring the gun out is to do the 3-gun shoots. He says, it's been too expensive to practice with it regularly. And what made it worse is he had a red dot scope on it, and he just vaguely zeroed his weapon. So when he was sitting there trying to shoot bowling pins at 40 yards, he couldn't do it. He could not hit the bowling pins. He could not hit his targets. What was his crime? What was his lack of planning? He did not zero his scope. I ate him alive with iron sights. But my iron sights were zeroed to 100 yards. So I knew exactly where to put my shots. Dink, 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 miss, miss, dink, dink, miss, dink. He wished he could have done that. And he had $800 worth of optical gear on this rifle. Stupid will stop you faster than technology. What can I say? I can't defend him, but at the same time, of all the people, this guy should have never had this problem. Not only did he have the problem, but he couldn't remember to get the safety off. Now, if he can have those problems, we can have those problems. And it's something that's so obvious that we fail to think about it. And that's the lesson I'm kind of talking about. What else? Zero your sights. Holsters and slings. Let's talk about this a second. If, for whatever reason, things go bad, you pick the scenario. Do you have holsters for all your guns? For every single pistol you have, do you have a holster? Are they all concealed holsters, or are they external holsters? Do you have slings on all your rifles? When things go bad, you're going to live with a gun. Think of it like wartime. Think of it whatever works for you. But if things are bad, you're going to spend every waking moment with your gun. No matter where you go, you'll have at least one, most likely two. Do you have a sling? Do you have a holster? Because if you're doing this all the time, you can't wipe your ass. You can't pick up anything. You can't carry water. You can't do anything. You need something hanging. You need something holstered. And without those, I've got holsters for half my guns, and I've got slings for one of mine. It is on my list. My shotgun does not have a sling. My shotgun is pointless because I'll either have it in my hand or I'll set it down. That's it. I need a sling. Slings and holsters is something that I think a lot of people forget to address. And if your hands are always tied up with your gun, you're not doing anything. You really need to have them. And the reason I brought that up is because when we went to the 3-gun, now I've got this collapsible folding wagon, and I left it in the garage. So I show up at the 3-gun, and I've got my range bag, and I've got a rifle bag, and I've got a shotgun bag, and I'm lugging this crap around. I've got nothing left to hold a cup of coffee. This sucked. That's why it dawned on me. Rifles, slings, and freaking holsters. And remember the wagon. Horrible. But that's because I forgot the wagon. That's when I realized how valuable the slings would be. I can carry the weight, but I can only put so much in my hands. And then it becomes a problem. And then I thought about that, at the house, if we're walking around, if we're doing... I don't want to constantly have something always in my hand. Spare parts. As I stated, I had something shoot off, get behind my trigger. No spare parts. You damn Skippy, I fixed it. I'm going to have a couple of spare parts kits. Didn't have any. Fixed my gun because the spring and the piece fell inside the gun and stayed inside the gun, even though I changed the way I was doing things and closed the gun up. Everything stayed in there, and I was able to repair the gun after the fact. That alone was worth its weight in gold in learning. But if you lose the spring, certain springs are not easily replaceable. And if it zeroes your gun to nothing because of a 1-cent spring, because you just didn't think to go get a spare spring kit, well, live or die however you want. Take that for what you will. Okay, so the last part. So this is the part where I get a little iffy. But as a part of the 3-gun, FBI SWAT team member showed up. I'm sitting there at the back of my car, and I'm pulling out scary black rifles, pulling out shotguns, loading my gun, or loading my mags, holstering my gun, and I look over, and this dude's strapping on FBI gear. Yeah, I got a little comfortable. I just was sitting there going, man, I hope he's here for a shoot. And we kind of get our stuff together, and sure enough, he's coming in for the shoot. But he's got his full armor gear on, and that's where the FBI patch was and everything. I actually went up and poked him in the chest to see if it really was body armor. And after the shoot, he brings out an MP5, 10 millimeter. And let's, like 5 or 6 or 8 of us, try it out, because this is a military automatic machine gun. We were not allowed to slide the little selector down because of range rules, but we were allowed to do single shot with this thing. And it was one of the few times civilians like us are ever going to be able to sit down and actually hold, shoot, and kind of get a familiarization with weapons that normally are not allowed to us, which was very decent. And the guy was really, he was one of the boys. And then somebody brought a point up and said, with all the training facilities that they've got and, all the things that they have at their disposal, do you really think he was out there practicing, or do you think that he might be keeping an eye on you guys? Because aren't you guys sitting there tactically training, and are some of the more proficient in the general public? Yeah. And I still don't know what to think about that. Wouldn't it be smart to kind of keep an eye on that? And then I talked to a ex-Marine friend of mine, and we bounced this idea around, and he said, if he knows the government's going illegal on him, and he has to go outside of channels, maybe he wants to know who the competent people are. And I said, yeah. The guys that can't find the safety, and magazines don't feed, and got all that tactical and trip and eat sand because they're tactically stupid. He chuckled, we chuckled, but the fact is these people all train and are proficient, and with his level, he could real easily bring us up to speed. So I've got two sides, and I don't have an answer. The third side is the dude just came out because he likes to shoot. The nature of his job requires him to be very good at it, because if he screws up, he dies. That makes sense. I think I'd be paying attention too. Didn't know, but I thought I'd bring that point up, that as we go to these competitive shoots, I have shot with FBI weapons instructors. I've shot with the state police. I've shot with ATF. I've shot with the FBI. I've shot with non-FBI SWAT team members. And I enjoy shooting with these guys because they are very pro. They are very consistent in their training. And as you watch and ask questions, when you get answers, the answers make very good sense. There's nothing wrong with their training. Matter of fact, you look at it as the model, and when you watch these guys, it's funny how when the pros come in, the civilian competitors are still here, and these boys are here, and they're just not even taking it seriously because their training is there. So I thought I would bring the rest of these ancillary things to your attention, and notice that we've had 1, 2, 3 or 4 videos on just this weekend. If I can get that much out of going to the range on a weekend, don't you think it's time to get out to the range? Thanks for listening.